You're listening to the N2K Space Network.
The DMV has established itself as a top-tier player in the global cyber industry. DMV Rising is the premier event for cyber leaders and innovators to engage in meaningful discussions and celebrate the innovation happening in and around the Washington, D.C. area. Join us on Thursday, September 18th to connect with the leading minds shaping our field and experience firsthand why the Washington, D.C. region is the beating heart of cyber innovation. Visit dmvrising.com to secure your spot. Risk and compliance shouldn't slow your business down. Hyperproof helps you automate controls, integrate real-time risk workflows, and build a centralized system of trust so your teams can focus on growth, not spreadsheets. From faster audits to stronger stakeholder confidence, Hyperproof gives you the business advantage of smarter compliance. Visit www.hyperproof.io to see how leading teams are transforming their GRC programs.
Today is August 27th, 2025. I'm Maria Varmazes, and this is T-Minus.
T-Minus. 20 seconds to LOS, T-Dress. Go for deploy. Roger, roll.
ISAR Aerospace has secured 2 launch service agreements with the European Space Agency and the European Commission.
4.
Amazon's Project Kuiper has pledged to invest $570 million by 2030 to build supporting infrastructure in Vietnam.
3.
Lockheed Martin Ventures has invested in mPower technologies.
2.
SpaceX releases a first look at a design for Space Launch Complex 37, where Starship plans to launch from Florida.
1.
Starship's 10th test flight lifted off from Starbase, Texas, and every major objective was met.
0.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Let's dive into today's Intel briefing, shall we? And it is a busy one today because following months of setbacks, SpaceX finally had a big win for their Starship Super Heavy last night. Starship's 10th test flight lifted off at 6:30 p.m. local time from Starbase, Texas, and every major objective was met. The flight test began with Super Heavy lifting off, igniting all 33 Raptor engines and descending over the Gulf. Successful ascent was followed by a hot staging maneuver, with Starship's upper stage igniting its 6 Raptor engines to separate from Super Heavy and continue the flight to space. The major highlight, though, for this mission was the payload deployment. And if you missed the live stream, then I would highly recommend going back to watch it because although the payloads were just dummy payloads, little dummy Starlinks, the live stream showed perfect deployment 19 minutes into the flight. And following stage separation, the Super Heavy booster completed its boost back burn to put it on a course to a pre-planned splashdown zone. The booster descended and successfully initiated its landing burn, intentionally disabling one of its 3 center engines during the final phases of the burn and using a backup engine from the middle ring. Super Heavy entered into a final hover above the water before shutting down its engines and splashing down. SpaceX says Starship's 10th test flight provided valuable data by stressing the limits of vehicle capabilities and providing maximum excitement along the way. What else, right? Congratulations to all the teams involved. And while preparations for the Starship livestream were underway, SpaceX also released a simulation of its new launch site in Florida. Space Launch Complex 37 has a storied history in spaceflight, and it will soon be part of launching Starship from Kennedy Space Center. The short video shows 2 dedicated launch pads for Starship there, and while the FAA itself has not yet issued a launch license for Starship launches from Florida, it is moving forward with environmental reviews, which are a major step toward clearing the path for SpaceX to begin operations there. And by the way, as we were publishing yesterday's show, another SpaceX launch was lifting off from Vandenberg Space Force Base. The Falcon 9 rocket carried 8 Earth observation payloads to low Earth orbit, including the National Advanced Optical System, or NEOS satellite, manufactured by OHB Italia. The spacecraft will support a wide span of Earth observation missions, including military operations, environmental monitoring, and scientific research. And also on board were Planet's high-resolution AI-enabled Pelican 3 and Pelican 4 satellites, Druva Space's Leap 1, and 4 payloads manifested by Exolaunch, and those would be Capella's Acadia 6 and Pixel's Fly 1, Fly 2, and Fly 3. Lockheed Martin Ventures, which is the venture capital arm of Lockheed Martin Corporation, has invested in mPower technology, and the investment is an add-on to mPower's recent Series B funding round, and this brings total Series B funding to over $24 million for mPower. And the company says that the capital will further accelerate the company's ability to scale production of its Dragon Scales solar modules for space. Dragon Scales has already been selected for several prominent space programs, including Airbus and MDA Space. Amazon's Project Kuiper has pledged to invest $570 million by 2030 to build infrastructure in Vietnam. The infrastructure will include up to 6 ground stations and terminal manufacturing in the northern province of Bac Nun. Amazon is aiming to deploy its Kuiper satellite services in Vietnam and has established a Vietnamese entity, Amazon Kuiper Vietnam. Amazon's Project Kuiper initiative aims to deliver broadband internet services via low Earth orbit satellites and will target underserved areas in remote regions and on islands. Their pilot program application is seeking approval for a 5-year rollout to serve consumer, business, and government subscribers. ISAR Aerospace has secured 2 launch service agreements with the European Space Agency and the European Commission as part of the Flight Ticket Initiative. And the contracts mark the first launch agreements between a privately funded European launch service provider and European institutions. The agreement covers the launch of 2 missions. One is the Cassini mission, developed by the Dutch company Isis Space, and the other is the Tom and Jerry mission by French company Infinite Orbits. Both missions will be launched from ISAR Aerospace's dedicated launch pad at Andøya Spaceport in Norway, and both are scheduled to launch no earlier than 2026. And that wraps up today's top 5 stories. It was a lot, wasn't it? And N2K senior producer Alice Kruth joins me now with a look at what other news is making headlines today. Alice, what do you have for us?
Head to the selected reading section of our show notes for the original sources of all the stories we mentioned throughout this episode. Today we've included 2 additional stories. The first is on the Shriver War Game, which was held earlier this month. The 2-week war game tested strategies, evaluated future technologies, and strengthened international cooperation in space. And we've also included a link to a CGTN article on China's latest satellite launch.
And a reminder, dear listeners, all of those links can also be found on our website, space.n2k.com. Hi, T-Minus crew. If you find our podcast useful, please do us a favor, if you don't mind, and share a 5-star rating and short review in your favorite podcast app. That'll help other space professionals like you to find our show and join the T-Minus crew. So, thank you so much for your support, everybody. We really appreciate it.
You hear from us here at T-Minus every single day. Now we'd love to hear from you. Your voice helps shape the future of N2K Networks. Tell us what matters most to you by completing our annual audience survey. Your insights help us grow to better meet your needs. There's a link to the survey in our show notes. We're collecting your comments through August 31st. Thanks.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
What does every USAA member have in common? Family. We're one big family who supports the military community and their eligible families. And if you, your parent, or spouse served, you could join our family and save big on auto insurance. Visit USAA.com/join today to check your eligibility. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
Welcome back. Space science is in full bloom on orbit thanks to a joint mission between NASA and ISRO. There's no flower in this story, though, no biology, but in this case, the bloom refers to the NASA-ISRO Synthetic Aperture Radar, or NISAR, satellite mission's antenna reflector. Now, when NISAR launched, its antenna reflector was, in a matter of speaking, neatly folded up. But in the 17 days after its July 30th launch, it slowly and very carefully unfurled, or really bloomed, its 12-meter or 39-foot, depending on the units you like to use, diameter, circular, drum-shaped reflector. And the motion for this blooming isn't entirely unlike a giant umbrella above Earth. Just imagine it blooming starting from one side and not from like a middle pole like an umbrella. In any case, the NISAR mission combines two powerful radar systems. One's from NASA and the other one is from ISRO, and they're both meant to track Earth's surface in remarkable detail. It can measure ice sheets, forest growth, and even land shifts from earthquakes down to fractions of an inch. And the huge reflector's successful deployment is critical to the mission, of course, because it allows the satellite to generate high-resolution radar imagery, kind of like creating 3D movies of changes across the planet. Now, NISAR's recent success is the largest antenna reflector that NASA has ever deployed in space, and of course, this mission in general from the get-go has been a milestone for U.S.-India cooperation in space science. And by the end of the year, NISAR is expected to start delivering transformative data that could aid everything from disaster response to food security. So well done to NASA and ISRO on their remarkable achievement. And that's T-Minus, brought to you by N2K Cyberwire. We would love to know what you think of our podcast. Your feedback ensures we deliver the insights that keep you a step ahead in the rapidly changing space industry. If you like the show, please share a rating and review in your podcast app. Please also fill out the survey in the show notes or send an email to space@n2k.com. We're proud that N2K Cyberwire is part of the daily routine of the most influential leaders and operators in the public and private sector, from the Fortune 500 to many of the world's preeminent intelligence and law enforcement agencies. N2K helps space and cybersecurity professionals grow, learn, and stay informed. As the nexus for discovery and connection, we bring you the people, the technology, and the ideas shaping the future of secure innovation. Learn how at n2k.com. N2K senior producer is Alice Carruth. Our producer is Liz Stokes. We are mixed by Elliot Peltzman and Trey Hester, with original music by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Peter Kilpie is our publisher, and I am your host, Maria Varmazis. Thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow.